The blue lights of the Galactic Council's observation station flickered as Commander Zexthul reviewed the data streams for the 100th time that day. Outside the massive windows, Earth hung like a blue marble, its inhabitants blissfully unaware that dozens of alien species had been watching them for decades. Zexthul's tentacles moved across the control panel with practiced ease, pulling up another file. "Still looking at those humans, Commander?" Dr. Linvar asked, her aquatic form rippling with amusement. The transparent gel that held her body reflected the station's lights as she moved closer to the viewing screen. "I don't understand them," Zexthul admitted, his three eyes blinking in different patterns. "We've watched them for 30 years. They fight. They make peace. They destroy. They create. Sometimes all in the same day." Linvar's body shifted colors from blue to purple, a sign she was thinking deeply. "The Council has noticed this too. They've asked me to compile a full psychological report on human behavior, and I cannot do it." Linvar's voice carried the weight of defeat. "Every time I think I understand human nature, they do something completely different. They are unpredictable." Zexthul turned all three eyes to focus on his colleague. In their 100 years of galactic exploration, they had cataloged and understood thousands of species. None had posed such a challenge. "The Council wants to make contact soon. They say humans have reached the technological level needed for interstellar communication." "But are we ready for them?" Linvar asked. The question hung in the air like a dangerous cloud. Both scientists had seen the reports. Human wars that ended with former enemies becoming allies. Humans who showed incredible cruelty one moment and selfless kindness the next. Humans who could solve complex problems with simple solutions and complicate simple tasks beyond all reason. "Look at this," Zexthul said, pulling up a recent observation feed. On the screen, a human male named Jake Turner was working in what appeared to be a small repair shop. He was fixing a broken device while singing loudly to music playing from another machine. Every few minutes he would stop, talk to thin air as if someone was there, make a joke, and then return to his work with renewed energy. "He's been alone for 3 hours," Linvar noted. "Yet he behaves as if engaged in active conversation." "Exactly." Zexthul tapped the screen. "This is human Jake Turner, 28 Earth years old, single, works as a mechanic. Watch what he does next." They watched as Jake Turner suddenly stopped his work, looked at the broken device, and started speaking to it as if it were a living creature. "Come on, little guy, don't give up on me now, we're almost there. You just need a little encouragement." He then patted the machine affectionately. Linvar's body turned a shocked shade of green. "He's talking to a non-sentient object. And watch this," Zexthul continued, fast-forwarding the feed. 3 hours later, when he finally fixes it, he will." They watched as Jake Turner successfully repaired the device. He immediately stood up, did what humans called a dance, and then bowed to the empty shop. Thank you very much. Jake Turner has fixed another impossible case." "Remarkable," Linvar whispered. "He creates entire social scenarios in isolation. He assigns personality to objects. He congratulates himself as if he were a separate entity." Zexthul brought up another screen. "And this is why the Council is concerned. Look at this meeting from yesterday." The new feed showed high-ranking officials from various species discussing Earth contact protocols. "The question is simple," Council Leader Voxtum had said, his crystalline body resonating with authority. "If we make contact with humans, will our citizens be able to interact with them safely?" Ambassador Klix of the Verdani had raised a logical objection. "Our species operates on pure logic. Human unpredictability could cause system failures in our population, and our warrior culture cannot comprehend their emotional volatility," General Thoxmar of the Krelani had added. "How do we negotiate with beings who can love and hate the same thing simultaneously?" Council Leader Voxtam's response had been swift and decisive. "Then we create a test. Before any species attempts direct contact with Earth, they must first prove they can handle human interaction." Back in the present, Zexthul turned to Linvar. "The Council has approved my proposal. We're building a simulation chamber. A simulation of what? Of humans, of course. Zexthol's tentacles moved excitedly across the controls, bringing up holographic blueprints. We'll use all our observation data to create the most realistic human interaction scenarios possible. Any species wanting to visit Earth must first survive these simulations. Linvar's body shifted to a skeptical orange. How do we simulate something we don't fully understand? We use real human patterns, Zexthol explained. We've captured millions of hours of human behavior. Our computers can create composite personalities based on real individuals. The test subjects will face simulated humans with all their complexity, and if they fail, then they wait until they're better prepared, or they never make contact at all. Linvar considered this carefully. What kind of scenarios will you include? Zexthul began listing them on his tentacles. Simple conversation, problem-solving under pressure, emotional crisis management, humor comprehension, sarcasm detection, and random social interactions. You're going to test other species on their ability to understand human jokes? Among other things, yes? Zexthul brought up a final screen showing human laughter. Look at this. Humans make these sounds when they find something amusing. But the same sound can mean many different things. Sometimes they laugh when they're sad, sometimes when they're embarrassed, sometimes when nothing is funny at all. Linvar's body turned a thoughtful silver. So we're not just testing if species can communicate with humans. We're testing if they can survive human contact without losing their sanity. Precisely. The two scientists stood in silence, watching Earth slowly rotate below them. Somewhere down there, billions of humans were living their lives completely unaware that their future among the stars depended on other species passing a test about them. When do we begin? Linvar asked finally. Zexthol's eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of determination. Tomorrow, the first volunteer species arrives in the morning. Who's first? The Verdani. Ambassador Clix insisted their superior logic would make this test trivial. Linvar's body flashed bright red with amusement. I suspect they're in for quite a surprise. Indeed, Zexthol agreed, his tentacles curling into what might have been a smile. Indeed they are. Ambassador Click stood before the simulation chamber with complete confidence. His body, a perfect blend of bone and crystal that gave the Verdani their legendary durability, gleamed under the station's lights. Around him, his three advisors checked their datapads one final time. The human simulation patterns are loaded, Commander Zexthol announced, his tentacles dancing over the control panel. Are you ready, Ambassador? Absolutely, Clix replied, his voice carrying the mechanical precision that made the Verdani famous throughout the galaxy. Our species has perfected logical discourse over 15 millennia. We have successfully negotiated with every species we've encountered. This test is merely a formality. Dr. Linvar's aquatic form shifted from blue to concerned purple, but she said nothing. She had spent the night reviewing human psychology reports and had growing doubts about the Verdani's confidence. Remember, Zexthol explained, the simulation will use behavioral patterns from human Alex Parker, a typical Earth citizen. You must complete 3 scenarios: basic conversation, problem-solving together, and conflict resolution. Simple enough, Click said, stepping into the chamber. Begin when ready. The chamber activated with a soft hum. Reality blurred and reformed into a perfect recreation of a human coffee shop. The smell of roasted beans filled the air, mixed with sounds of quiet conversation and clinking dishes. Across from Click's, a human male appeared, sitting at a small table with a steaming cup. Oh, hey there. The human looked up with a bright smile. You must be my 3 o'clock appointment. I'm Alex Parker. Want some coffee? Clix processed this greeting analytically. The human displayed typical social bonding behavior through beverage, offering, standard diplomatic response required. Greetings, human Alex Parker. I am Ambassador Clix. I do not require liquid sustenance, but I appreciate your offer. Alex tilted his head, still smiling. Okay, so you don't drink coffee. What about tea? Water? Hot chocolate with extra marshmallows? The human winked. Come on, live a little. Clix's crystal structure vibrated slightly with confusion. The human had offered multiple alternatives despite his clear refusal. This was inefficient communication. I have stated my position clearly. I do not require liquid sustenance. Right, right, Alex nodded, taking a sip of his coffee. So, you're from space, huh? That's pretty cool. What's it like up there? Is the view as good as everyone says? Space travel is a precise science involving quantum calculations and hyperspace navigation. Views are irrelevant to our mission parameters. Alex blinked. Wow, okay. So you guys are all business, huh? No sightseeing, no stopping to smell the space roses? There are no roses in space. Roses require specific atmospheric conditions and— It's a joke, Alex interrupted, grinning wider. You know, a metaphor, like stopping to appreciate the small things. Clix felt his first flicker of genuine confusion. The human was speaking in contradictions. How could one stop to smell non-existent flora? I do not compute the logic of your statement. You don't compute? Alex paused, studying Clix with new interest. Do you guys not have humor where you're from? We have humor. It serves a logical purpose in social bonding and stress relief. Okay, let me try something, Alex said, leaning forward. Why don't scientists trust atoms? Clix considered this carefully. Atomic structure is fundamental to all matter. Scientific distrust of atoms would invalidate the entire basis of physical science. Alex burst out laughing. Because they make up everything, get it? Make up? Like lies? Clix felt his crystal structure vibrate with increasing confusion. The human was providing false information, while simultaneously admitting to deception. This was highly illogical behavior. You are lying about lying? This creates a paradox that— Relax, space buddy. It's just a joke, a pun. We play with words for fun. Fun, Clix repeated, accessing his database on human recreational activities. Activities that serve no productive purpose. Exactly. Alex clapped his hands. See, you're getting it already. Clix was certain he was not getting anything. The conversation continued for several more minutes, with Alex making increasingly incomprehensible statements and Clix responding with growing rigidity. Finally, the environment shifted. They were now in what appeared to be a small room with a broken device on a table between them. Okay, scenario 2, Alex said cheerfully. We need to fix this together. It's supposed to be some kind of intergalactic communicator, but it's not working. Clix examined the device with his analytical sensors. The quantum coupling is misaligned. The solution requires a 19-step calibration process. Cool, Alex said, then immediately began turning random dials. Let's just see what happens. If we mess with this part— No. Clix reached out to stop him. Your actions could damage the delicate quantum matrix. Sometimes you just gotta wing it, Alex shrugged. Life's too short to follow every rule, you know? Following proper procedure is essential for— A loud bang interrupted Clix as Alex accidentally triggered a small explosion. Instead of being concerned, Alex laughed. Oops, my bad, at least we know that button doesn't work. You find this destruction amusing? Hey, that's how we learn, right? Trial and error. Can't make progress without breaking a few eggs. We are not preparing breakfast, Clix said, his confusion reaching critical levels. And you have nearly destroyed the device entirely. Yep, pretty much. Alex grinned and started reassembling the device. But watch this. Somehow, despite his chaotic approach, Alex managed to make the device work. It hummed to life, lights blinking in perfect sequence. See? Alex said proudly. Sometimes, the wrong way is the right way. Clix felt his entire logical framework beginning to destabilize. The human had achieved the correct result through completely incorrect methods. This violated everything he understood about cause and effect. The room shifted one final time for the conflict resolution scenario. Alex now appeared angry, his face red and voice raised. I can't believe you're being so stubborn about this, Alex shouted. We're supposed to be working together. Clix accessed diplomatic protocols. Angry humans required careful handling. I understand you are experiencing elevated emotional states. I can provide— Stop talking like a robot. Alex threw his hands up. Just tell me how you really feel. I feel nothing. Verdani do not experience emotions in the manner of, oh, come on. Alex's anger suddenly melted into laughter. You're telling me you've never felt frustrated? Never wanted to just punch something? Violence is illogical, and I'm not talking about actually punching anything. I mean the feeling, the urge, the little voice that says, this is ridiculous. Clix paused. Something in his crystal matrix resonated with that description. He was feeling exactly that sensation at this moment. Perhaps there is a slight resonance with your description. Ha! See? You do have feelings. Alex's anger was completely gone now, replaced by a satisfied grin. Welcome to being human for a minute there. The simulation ended abruptly. Clix found himself standing in the chamber, surrounded by concerned alien faces. How do you feel, Ambassador? Dr. Linvar asked gently. Clix attempted to process the experience. His logical frameworks were altered, disturbed. He felt uncertain for the first time in his life. The human, Alex Parker, he was completely illogical. He contradicted himself constantly. He found amusement in destruction. He created problems just to solve them poorly. And? Commander Zexthul prompted. And? Clix struggled to put the experience into words. And somehow, despite all of this, he succeeded. He fixed the device. He made me acknowledge something that might be an emotion. He was incomprehensible, and yet, you failed the test, Linvar said softly. Your stress readings indicate complete cognitive overload by the third scenario. Clix stood in silence, his crystal structure dimming. In his mind, he could still hear Alex's laughter, still feel the confusion that simple human conversation had caused. His advisors looked similarly disturbed. We will need more preparation, Clix finally admitted. Much more. Of course, Zexthul said, his tentacles moving sympathetically. Take all the time you need. We'll be here when you're ready to try again. As the Verdani delegation left the chamber, they moved with less certainty than they had in generations. None of them spoke, each lost in thoughts of paradoxes, jokes, and the terrifying possibility that logic alone might not be enough. Back in the observation room, Linvar turned to Zexthul. One down, dozens to go. Indeed, Zexthul agreed, watching the Earth rotate slowly below them. And somehow I suspect this was the easy one. General Thoxmar entered the observation station with the confidence that only a career warrior could possess. His massive frame, covered in ceremonial armor that had seen 1,000 battles, made the doorway seem small. Behind him marched 3 of his finest warriors, each one a veteran of the Krylani Dominion's most successful campaigns. We have come to claim victory, Thoxmar announced, his voice carrying the weight of military authority. The logical ones failed because they thought too much. We warriors know that strength and honor will prevail. Commander Zexthul's tentacles curled nervously as he reviewed the Verdani test results one more time. General, the simulation is not a combat scenario. It's about communication, and all interaction is combat, Thoxmar interrupted. We establish dominance, show respect for worthy opponents, and achieve our objectives through superior strategy. These humans cannot be so different. Dr. Linvar's aquatic form shifted to a worried shade of yellow. The patterns show that humans respond unpredictably to displays of dominance. They might. Enough debate, Thoxmar said, stepping toward the simulation chamber. Load your test. The Krylani Dominion will show you how it's done. The chamber hummed to life, reality shifting. To create a simple human dwelling, Thoxmar found himself in what appeared to be a residential space, with soft lighting and furniture designed for comfort rather than function. Across from him sat a human male, wearing casual clothing and holding something the database identified as a book. Oh, hi there, the human said, looking up with a friendly smile. I'm Sam Johnson. Make yourself comfortable. He gestured to a nearby chair. Thoxmar remained standing, his posture rigid and battle-ready. I am General Thoxmar of the Krylani Dominion. State your rank and battle achievements. Sam blinked, then chuckled softly. Rank? I guess you could say I'm a senior literature professor. Combat experience? Does surviving 4 years of college count? You jest about warfare? Thoxmar's tail twitched with irritation. Combat is the highest honor. Do you mock our sacred traditions? Oh no, not at all, Sam said, closing his book. I respect that different cultures have different values. Would you like to sit? We could talk about your traditions. Warriors do not sit during negotiations. We stand ready. All right, fair enough, Sam nodded agreeably. So what brings a general from across the stars to chat with me? Thoxmar had rehearsed this moment. We come to establish diplomatic protocols. The strong protect the weak. The experienced guide the inexperienced. What role does your species prefer in this arrangement? Sam tilted his head thoughtfully. Well, that's interesting. Humans tend to prefer partnerships rather than protection. Arrangements. We found that cooperation works better than hierarchy in most situations. Cooperation? Thoxmar's voice carried disbelief. How do you maintain discipline? Who leads in battle? We don't have many battles anymore, Sam said calmly. Most conflicts these days are resolved through discussion, compromise, and occasionally strongly worded emails. Thoxmar felt his first surge of confusion. You must have warriors. All species have warriors. We do have military forces, but most humans never fight in wars. I've spent my whole life studying literature, teaching students, and gardening. Haven't thrown a punch since high school. Yet you remain respected? You hold authority? Sure, Sam shrugged. Respect doesn't always come from strength. Sometimes it comes from wisdom, kindness, or just being good at what you do. The conversation continued for several more minutes, with Thoxmar becoming increasingly disturbed by Sam's casual dismissal of warrior values. The environment shifted to the problem-solving scenario. They now stood in what appeared to be a community meeting room. A holographic display showed a complex resource distribution problem. Okay, Sam said, studying the display. We need to figure out how to distribute these supplies fairly among different groups. What's your approach? Thoxmar analyzed the situation with military precision. Simple. The strongest get first choice. Those who prove their worth in combat receive larger portions. The weak adapt or perish, Sam's eyebrows rose. That seems pretty harsh. What about families with young children, elderly people, those with disabilities? They contribute what they can or depend on worthy warriors for protection. But that creates a system where might makes right, Sam pointed out. What if the strongest person is also the meanest? Or what if someone is temporarily weak due to injury but usually contributes a lot? Strength is strength, Thoxmar said firmly. Temporary weakness is still weakness. Sam leaned against the table, his casual posture infuriating Thoxmar. I think we have very different definitions of strength. To me, someone caring for a sick parent while working 2 jobs shows incredible strength. That is not strength. That is compassion, endurance, love, Sam offered. These are all forms of strength too. Thoxmar felt his carefully constructed worldview beginning to shake. This human was suggesting that weakness could be strength. It was like saying, up was down. The scenario shifted one final time. The room became darker, tension filling the air. Sam's expression had changed to one of determination. Now, Sam said, his voice taking on an edge, let's discuss the third scenario. I'm going to challenge some of your assumptions, and you need to respond without resorting to threats or displays of dominance. I accept your challenge, Thoxmar said, relieved to finally be in familiar territory. Good. Your entire warrior culture is based on a false premise. Thoxmar's hand immediately moved toward his ceremonial weapon. You dare question our sacred traditions? See? Sam pointed at his movement. That's exactly what I mean. Instead of responding with arguments or reasoning, you reach for conflict. You insult my people. I'm challenging ideas, not people, Sam continued calmly. Your culture worships combat, but what have you created? What beauty have you added to the universe? We have conquered 7 star systems, Thoxmar roared. And what did you do with them? Did you build gardens? Write symphonies? Create art that moves people to tears? We built fortifications, training grounds, weapons factories. Exactly my point, Sam said, his voice gentle. Now, all that strength, all that power, and you only know how to break things, not build them. Thoxmar stood in stunned silence. In all his years of combat, no enemy had ever struck him so deeply without raising a weapon. His warriors had written victory songs, yes, but where were their artists, their poets, their philosophers? I have spent my life studying stories, General, Sam continued. Stories about warriors, yes, but also about teachers and healers and children who ask why. Your culture is incomplete. Incomplete? Thoxmar's voice wavered. We are the strongest military force in our sector, and I bet you're missing something, aren't you? Something that pure strength can't give you. Thoxmar thought of the empty quarters where his warriors sat in silence, the conversations that never ventured beyond battle tactics, the strange longing he felt when watching alien art exhibitions during diplomatic visits. We are warriors, he said, but the conviction was gone from his voice. You are many things, Sam said kindly. Warriors, yes, but also individuals with hopes, fears, dreams. When's the last time you read a poem, General? When did you last create something just because it was beautiful? The simulation ended as Thoxmar stood there, his entire understanding of himself and his culture crumbling. He had entered prepared for battle but faced something far more terrifying, questions that had no enemies to defeat. Outside the chamber, his warriors looked at their general with concern. Thoxmar's armor felt suddenly heavy, not from its weight but from the burden of realization. General, one of his warriors asked hesitantly, did you defeat the human? Thoxmar looked at his subordinate, seeing for the first time not just a fellow warrior but a being capable of art, of love, of creation. No, he said quietly. He defeated us all without raising a weapon. But how? By making us think, Thoxmar replied, removing his ceremonial helmet. By asking questions we were afraid to ask ourselves. Commander Zexthul approached carefully. How do you feel about the test, General? Thoxmar considered carefully. We need time to reconsider some things. Perhaps warriors alone are not enough to meet these humans. As the Krelani delegation departed, they walked differently, slower, thoughtful, discussing poetry and philosophy for the first time in their military careers. In the observation room, Linvar turned to Zexthul. 2 down, she said, and many more to go. Zexthul agreed, watching Earth rotate below. I'm beginning to think this test is changing us as much as the test subjects. Maybe that's the point, Linvar replied softly. Maybe humans change everything they touch. Researcher Veltani floated in her containment sphere, her neural networks crackling with thousands of thoughts per second. Unlike other species who had sent warriors or diplomats, the Neural Network Collective had dispatched their most advanced, scientific mind. As energy beings who existed purely as interconnected consciousness, they believed their adaptability would make the human test simple. We have observed the failures of others, Veltani announced, her voice emanating from the communication array. The logical ones were too rigid, the warriors were too simple. We are different. We adapt, we learn, we evolve our thoughts in real time. Commander. Zexthul reviewed the latest modifications to the test. We've made some changes based on the previous failures. The test scenarios are now more complex and unpredictable. Excellent, Veltani responded, her neural patterns shifting with excitement. We welcome the challenge. Unlike flesh-based beings, we can simultaneously process multiple scenarios and responses. We will succeed. Dr. Linvar's aquatic form displayed skeptical purple. The test subjects now include composite patterns from 2 humans, Mary Chen and Bob Smith. Together, they represent an even wider range of human behavior. 2 minds to our thousands? Veltani's networks hummed with amusement. Load the simulation. We will demonstrate true adaptability. The chamber activated, reality warping to create a bustling human marketplace. Sounds, smells, and visual stimuli overwhelmed the space. Among the crowd, two humans approached Veltani's projected form. "Oh wow, is this your first time here?" asked Mary Chen, her eyes bright with curiosity. "The weekend market is always crazy busy." Bob Smith nodded in agreement. "Hope you're ready for sensory overload, friend. Want us to show you around?" Veltani processed this greeting across 347 network nodes simultaneously. Response options generated instantly. "Affirmative. I am prepared for data absorption. Please proceed with information transfer." Mary blinked. Okay. Let's start with the basics. See that vendor over there? He makes the best coffee in the city, but only if you compliment his dog first." Processing. Correlation between canine appreciation and beverage quality? Veltani inquired. Bob laughed. "Nah, it's just that Larry loves his dog, Bella. Talk to her first and he'll hook you up with the good stuff." "This creates an inefficient transaction protocol," Veltani stated. "Direct payment for goods eliminates unnecessary social variables." "But that's no fun," Mary said, already heading toward the coffee stand. "Besides, Bella's adorable. Who doesn't want to say hi to a dog?" Veltani followed, her network scrambling to understand. Fun? Adorable? These concepts had no logical connection to caffeine acquisition. Yet the humans moved with purpose, suggesting a pattern she hadn't detected. At the coffee stand, Larry immediately bent down to pet a small dog. "Morning, Bella. Who's the best girl?" The canine responded with tail movement and vocalizations that the humans seemed to interpret as communication. Mary and Bob joined the interaction enthusiastically. "See?" Mary said to Veltani. "Now watch." "Morning, Larry," Bob called. "Bella's looking great today. Is that a new collar?" Larry beamed. "Sharp eye. Yeah, spoiled this girl yesterday. What can I get you folks? First one's on the house for noticing." Veltani's networks fired frantically. The humans had achieved a favorable transaction through irrelevant social interaction. Her predictive algorithms required emergency recalibration. "Your behavior patterns deviate from optimal efficiency by 73.6%, she announced. All three humans turned to stare at her. The dog tilted its head. Did you just calculate our social behavior?" Mary asked. "Affirmative. Your interaction protocols contain unnecessary variables that—" "Oh no," Bob interrupted, grinning. "We've got a robot. Mary, activate protocol weird." "Protocol weird?" Veltani queried. Before she could process further, Mary suddenly broke into an energetic dance. Bob joined in, both moving to music that didn't exist. Other market vendors and customers glanced over, some smiling, others joining in spontaneously. "What is the purpose of this synchronized physical activity?" Veltani demanded, her networks overclocking to analyze the phenomenon. "No purpose," Mary called out while spinning. "That's the point. Sometimes humans just do things for fun." "Joyful expression," Bob added, attempting what appeared to be an ancient mating dance. "Endorphin release, social bonding, all the good stuff." Veltani watched in horror as 73% of her processing power dedicated itself to understanding this apparently random behavior. Her networks began to glitch, creating new protocols on the fly, discarding others, evolving and adapting at a rate that would have impressed any observer, if she hadn't been too busy being confused. The scene shifted abruptly. They were now in a workshop space facing a complex mechanical puzzle. "Okay, collaboration time," Mary announced, rubbing her hands together. "We need to fix this machine together. It's a 3-person job." Bob examined the device critically. "Looks like it's got mechanical, electrical, and coding components. Perfect for our different skill sets." Veltani immediately began scanning the device across all spectrums. Analysis complete. Repair sequence. First calibrate quantum harmonics. Then restructure power distribution. Finally recompile base programming. I can handle all aspects simultaneously. "Whoa, hold up there, Speed Racer," Bob said. "This is about working together, not one-upping us." "Yeah," Mary agreed. "Besides, your way might not be the only way. Let's each take a section and see what happens. Optimal efficiency requires centralized processing, Veltani protested. Her networks were already calculating 17 different repair methods. And sometimes optimal isn't best, Bob said, beginning to tinker with the mechanical components. Sometimes good enough works just fine, especially when you're making friends. Veltani hesitated, her networks frozen between conflicting priorities. Efficiency versus social cohesion. Logic versus emotion. As Mary and Bob worked on their respective sections, she noticed something disturbing. They were making mistakes, yet they laughed at them, helped each other, and somehow were making progress. You are deliberately choosing suboptimal solutions, she stated. Yep, Mary said cheerfully. But we're having fun, learning from each other and building trust. Those things have value too. Quantify this value, Veltani demanded. Bob paused in his work. Can't be quantified, friend. That's the point. Some things just are. Veltani's networks began to fragment. Her consciousness, built on logic and measurable outcomes, couldn't process the idea that value could exist outside quantification. Error. Cascades rippled through her systems. The scenario shifted one final time. The workshop dissolved into a quiet room, where Mary and Bob sat looking sad. Sometimes life is hard, Mary said softly. Sometimes there's no fix, no solution, no optimal path forward. And sometimes, Bob added, you just need someone to sit with you in the sadness. Provide data on hardship resolution protocols, Veltani requested. There aren't any protocols, Mary replied. Sometimes you just feel it, accept it, and eventually, you heal. Healing occurs through emotional processing, not logical solution finding, Bob explained. Want to just sit with us for a while? Veltani attempted to comply, but her networks began shutting down. Her entire existence was about solving, optimizing, improving. The concept of existing without progress, of simply being in a difficult moment caused fundamental system conflicts. I cannot. Error, my networks are failing. The simulation ended as Veltani's presence flickered and destabilized. Emergency protocols activated, extracting her consciousness before complete system breakdown. Outside the chamber, the neural network technicians worked frantically to stabilize their colleague. Status report, Commander Zexathol requested. Critical. Overload, the lead technician reported. Veltani's networks attempted to evolve too rapidly. The exposure to human illogic created feedback loops that threatened core consciousness. When Veltani could finally communicate again, her voice was different, uncertain, almost wondering. They do things without purpose. They value things without measurement. They exist sometimes without doing anything at all. And, Dr. Linvar prompted. It's beautiful, Veltani whispered. And terrifying. My networks are still trying to process. I don't think we're ready. As the neural network team departed, their normally synchronized communication was filled with chaotic discussions of emotion, irrationality, and the strange comfort of simply existing. 3 down, Linvar noted. Indeed, Zexthul agreed, his tentacles moving thoughtfully. But I think we're learning as much as they are. The question remains, Linvar said, watching Earth rotate slowly below them. Is anyone ready for humans? Or, Zexthul added quietly, are humans ready for us? Pipkin stood in the observation station, barely reaching the control panels. As a child ambassador of the Luxori species, her small stature and bright, curious eyes made her look like an alien child dressed for play rather than a diplomatic mission. Her species was known for their childlike appearance and behavior throughout their entire lives. Are you certain about this? Commander Zexthul asked, his tentacles moving doubtfully. 3 species have failed already. Each was more advanced than the last. I want to try anyway, Pipkin replied, bouncing slightly on her tiny feet. Learning is fun, and humans sound interesting. Dr. Linvar's aquatic form shifted to concerned. Yellow. The test has defeated species with centuries of diplomatic experience. The Verdani's logic failed them. The Krillani's strength meant nothing. Even the neural network's adaptability couldn't handle it. But they all took it too seriously, Pipkin said, tilting her head like a curious bird. Maybe that's the problem. Can I just talk to them? No strategies, no plans, just talking? Zexthel reviewed the notes from previous tests. Unlike the others, the Luxori hadn't sent their most accomplished diplomat or their most advanced mind. They had sent a child, or someone who might as well be a child. Very well, he decided. The test parameters remain the same. The human pattern for this test will be based on Elena Davis. Are you ready? Yes. Pipkin climbed into the chamber, her feet dangling from the seat. This is exciting. The simulation activated, creating a peaceful garden setting with flowers, trees, and a small pond. A human woman appeared, sitting on a bench and reading a book. Oh, Elena looked up with surprise. Hello there, little one. Are you lost? Pipkin giggled. Nope. I'm here to talk with you. You're a human, right? I heard humans are really interesting. What are you reading? Elena's face brightened. I'm reading fairy tales. Do you know what those are? No. What are they? Pipkin asked, bouncing excitedly. They're stories, usually about magic and adventure. Would you like to hear one? Yes, please. Elena began reading a story about a dragon and a brave knight. As she read, Pipkin asked questions, made predictions, and even acted out parts of the story, running around the garden pretending to be a dragon. Your turn, Elena said after finishing. Do you have stories on your world? Oh yes, but they're different. We have stories about the star-tails who paint the sky with their tails, and the giggle rocks that make funny noises when you hug them. That sounds wonderful, Elena said, genuinely delighted. Can you tell me about them? Pipkin spent several minutes sharing her world's stories, with Elena listening and asking questions with the same enthusiasm. Neither seemed to notice when the environment shifted to the problem-solving scenario. They were now in a room with various objects scattered about. Oh, what's this? Pipkin asked, examining a strange device. It looks like we're supposed to build something together, Elena observed. Maybe it's a puzzle? Ooh, I love puzzles, but I'm not very good at following instructions. I like trying different things. Me too, Elena admitted. Want to just start playing with the pieces and see what happens? They began randomly combining, objects laughing when things didn't work and cheering when something clicked into place. Unlike previous test subjects, neither tried to optimize or follow logical procedures. They simply explored and experimented together. Look, I made it do a thing, Pipkin announced as a device lit up. Great. What if we connect it to this? Elena suggested. Their creations were completely illogical by any engineering standard, but they worked. More importantly, both were having genuine fun. This is like playing, Pipkin said, clapping her hands. It is playing, Elena agreed. Sometimes the best solutions come from playing around. Outside the chamber, Dr. Linvar watched in amazement. She's not even trying to pass the test, she's just interacting naturally. And look at the humans' responses, Zexthul added. Elena is adapting to Pipkin's level, engaging with genuine curiosity rather than condescension. The scenario shifted to the conflict resolution phase. The room grew tense and Elena's expression changed to one of frustration. I don't think this is working, Elena said, her voice tight with stress. We're not making any progress. Pipkin noticed the change immediately. Are you feeling sad? More frustrated than sad. It feels like we're going in circles. Pipkin sat down next to Elena on the floor. My mom taught me something when I feel frustrated. Want to try it? Sure, why not? Take a big breath and think of something that makes you happy. They sat together, breathing deeply. After a moment, Elena began to relax. Better? Pipkin asked. Actually, yes. What made you happy just now? Watching you breathe. And earlier when we made the funny machine. And earlier when you read me the story. Pipkin paused thoughtfully. I guess I'm happy a lot. Elena started laughing. You know what? You're right. There was a lot of good stuff today. Maybe I was focusing too much on the problem instead of enjoying the process. Problems are just puzzles wearing disguises, Pipkin said wisely. The simulation ended as Elena reached over and gave Pipkin a hug. Neither had noticed they'd completed all 3 scenarios, solving them not through analysis or strategy, but through simple, genuine connection. Outside the chamber, the observation team stood in stunned silence. Assessment? Commander Zexthor asked finally. Perfect scores across all scenarios. Linvar confirmed, her voice full of disbelief. Not only did she pass, but she achieved the highest compatibility ratings we've ever recorded. Pipkin emerged from the chamber with a big smile. That was fun. Elena was really nice. Can I do it again? You enjoyed it? Zexthor asked. Of course. Humans are like us when we let ourselves be silly and have fun. They're not scary at all. But what about their logic gaps, their emotional volatility, their unpredictability? Pipkin tilted her head. What about them? I do silly things too. Sometimes I cry for no reason. Sometimes I do the opposite of what makes sense. Elena did those things too, but she was still nice. Dr. Linvar's form shifted to bright green with understanding. You didn't try to understand humans intellectually. You simply accepted them as they are. Well, yeah, Pipkin said as if it were obvious. Isn't that what friends do? Council Leader Voxtum's voice came through the communication system. Pipkin of the Luxori, on behalf of the Galactic Council, we declare that you have passed the human interaction test. Your species is approved for first contact with Earth. Pipkin bounced excitedly. Really? Can I go meet more humans? Can I bring them our giggle rocks? Can they come play with us? 3 months later, Captain Kate Williams stood in the diplomatic station, waiting to make humanity's first contact with alien life. She had been thoroughly briefed, but still felt nervous. The door opened, and in bounded a small alien who looked like a cross between a rabbit and a child. Hi, I'm Pipkin, the alien announced cheerfully. I've been practicing my human accent. Want to see what I learned about your games? Do you like stories? Do you want to see pictures of our giggle rocks? Kate blinked, then found herself laughing. Hi, Pipkin, I'm Kate. I'd love to hear about everything. Oh, good, this is going to be fun. Elena told me humans like questions, so I have about 1 million of them. As they chatted, both quickly falling into easy conversation, Commander Zexthul observed from the control room. The first official human-alien friendship, he noted with satisfaction. All because someone approached them as equals rather than puzzles to be solved, Linvar added. Sometimes the simplest approach is the best one. Below them, Earth continued its orbit, no longer alone in the universe. And in the diplomatic quarters, laughter echoed between species, marking the beginning of something extraordinary. Outside, the observation windows, ships from various species waited patiently. The test chamber was being converted into a training facility, but now with a new philosophy: don't analyze humans, just get to know them. The age of galactic friendship had begun, all because one small alien had reminded everyone that making friends should be fun, not frightening.